What's up, guys? Raziel here, and in this video I'm going to talk about the live letter. Now, there are plenty of videos out there already covering the live letter number 66 that we saw yesterday. I'm not going to do that, though. I'm not a news channel, and I like when people form their own opinions, so I'm going to give you my opinion on the major points that they went over. I'm not going to go over every little detail, but the point of this video mostly is to get your feedback. How are you feeling about some of the major changes? In the description, there will be a link to the actual live letter, as well as a lot of the information that was put out, such as the trailers and the job actions and stuff like that. But let's just do the drop and get into it.
I am Raziel.
So here we are. Now, if you're not familiar, if you haven't seen the live letter, you should probably watch that first, or at least read the transcript on the Discord or something, so you know what I'm talking about if you're not familiar. Or there's plenty of other channels doing clickbaity, coverage of the live letter, and you can go watch that if you want. That's not what this video is about. This video is just going to kind of give my opinions and thoughts over the major things. I'm not going to go over every single change, but let's just stop fucking around and get right into it. So the first thing they led with is a bunch of job adjustments, which we all expected. A couple of jobs, most jobs got like one action or a new chain added. Some, like Gunbreaker, got some things turned into a smaller button combo, but then something else is added. But the big thing I want to talk about here is they did mention that in this series they're building off what they did in Shadowbringer, so they're not necessarily going to go the route of like Heaven's Word, where a lot of people, myself included, considered the combat less streamlined, more complex. But at the same time, I understand why they're going this direction. Some people would call it dumbing down, and to a degree I would agree with that. But then they went in with some other things that kind of contradicted that statement, as in, one of the coolest changes since I main a tank is the fact that they're changing it so if you time your tank defensive cooldowns perfectly, or the better you are at it, you get more benefits out of the actual ability, which is something I've never seen done in an MMO up to this point, which I think is really, really cool. They gave some small examples, so like if maybe if I hit like TBN later in the enemy's cast bar or on someone other than myself and it saves them, then I also get a bonus of defense or something, or someone else in my party gets one, shit like that. And then that's I think that's really, really cool, and in my opinion it's a new direction I've never seen. No MMO I've played has gone that direction in that way. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out with how Final Fantasy XIV's server tick works, but that is completely up in the air at this point. We don't know, we haven't played it. And they are going to invite influencers to test it out. Let's be fucking real, I ain't going there. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how all of that plays out. But again, they're kind of just building off what was already there. A couple of jobs seemed a little concerning. They already suffer a bit from ability bloat, like Ninja, for example, is getting more abilities. They're changing jobs, like the Monk, Grease Lightning stacks are no longer a thing, and they're adding in a different system. And we got to see a lot more of the Reaper and the Sage in this, which looks quite cool. One big thing that I love, that I think is going to be really good for the game, is the fact that they're labeling for Party Finder and things like that, healers as shield healers or full healers, and when you're going into a pug group, it will never put 2 shield healers or 2 pure healers. It's always going to be a shield and a pure in there, which I think it's good to do it that way. I'll get into a bit more of the Party Finder adjustments that they're doing and the that type of thing. Another big change that they are making is they're adjusting almost every cooldown. There are some exceptions to be with either 60 seconds to 120 second timers, so 60, 90s, and 120s. It's mostly 60s and 120s, so everyone's abilities line up a little bit more. I think it's fine. It's a fine change. I do think that kind of dumbs things down a little bit, but at the same time, it's also very beneficial, where the min-maxers aren't at a huge, gigantic advantage compared to people that weren't. I'm still torn on this. I'm really interested to know how you guys feel about the cast timers being, on the major cooldowns, the major abilities set almost all jobs across the board the same. I'm wondering how you guys feel about that. Again, I said I do main tank. I saw after the job actions, the tank I've mained since Heaven's Word is Dark Knight. I'll probably still level Dark Knight first, but man, Paladin's looking really tempting to main this time around just because they got so much, but we'll see. We'll see how it feels. This isn't a decree of I'm abandoning Dark Knight, but Dark Knight got very few changes, and I think Dark Knight plays really well. I think it should be doing more damage, but it plays really well in Shadowbringers, and they're just going to add a little bit more to it, so we'll see what happens. But all the tank jobs across the board saw some changes. For more details, again, you can find them, but we haven't seen everything. And it'll be the biggest change to tanks, as I mentioned earlier, is the entire bonus to using defensive cooldowns better, which I'm really interested to see how that plays out, and I'm really interested to see how you guys feel, you know, to make the tank job, the tank role feel more interactive, and you know, you be rewarded for being a better player more often. Combos, the big thing, the fact that combos are no longer broken by ranged attacks for tanks is fucking great. I think that's going to be unanimous for everybody that that's a good change. We got to see, so again, I'm going to go into it. We saw the job actions, and we got to see a lot more of a couple of jobs. The biggest job that got the most changes, or it's practically a new class now, is Summoner, where they're now actually like summoners. All their dot spells were removed. They're not a dot class anymore. But they all got all the summons. They can summon Garuda, Ifrit, Titan, and they can do all that stuff now, which I think is really, really cool. And it'll be interesting to see how many people switch to Summoner now, how many Summoner mains will stay. So if you're a Summoner main, tell me what you think. I've never played Summoner personally past like 20 or 30. So please, like, if you're a Summoner main, let me know how you feel about these changes. I know that a lot of Summoners for the longest time wanted big changes to the class, to the job, and it looks like they're finally getting it. As far as the melee DPS, they all saw some changes. As I mentioned, the Monk's Grease Lightning change. Dragoon, you know, has like Blood of the Dragon is now a trait instead of an active ability, which a lot of Dragoons I think are going to like that. I have played Dragoon to 70, but yeah, there's not a bunch of changes there as far as like Samurai and Dancer and things like that. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out and how it all comes together. One thing they did mention, which I think is worth mentioning here, is people are going to think a bunch of potencies got nerfed when really they're just balancing out the magic and the physical potencies to be on this same mathematical formula, so that, you know, it's much easier for them to balance things that way. I have no real feelings about that. I think that's fine. I think it's, if they have to do it, they have to do it. You know, the same as they're at the point now in the game where they have to be doing this entire stat squish, you know, with how the game is set up. One thing that I think they did really well, which World of Warcraft failed to do in many stat squishes, is, and a lot of times in World of Warcraft, you go back to an old raid or dungeon to solo it to get some, you know, glamour or transmog stuff out of it, and it would instantly, like, you find you couldn't do it anymore, or it was harder than it was before the patch. Well, what they're doing here is now, because the scaling and the item levels and the stats on gear now is so squished down and closer together, when you go back to an old raid, it's going to adjust, is going to give you an echo depending on where your current top level is. So if you're at the max level 90 at the game and you go into an old like Heaven's Word dungeon, it's going to give you a huge echo boost, so it'll still be easy and you can solo it just as well as you could before the squish. Excuse me, I'm looking through some of my notes here to get to the next point that I want to get to. So the range jobs, again, some minor changes across all the range jobs with Machinist, you know, Bard. Bard, they said it has a lot more coming. They couldn't show everything that they wanted to. So I'm interested to see if you're a Bard player, if you like what you saw, and if you're excited to see what's coming up, or if you didn't like it, leave comments down below. Dancer, not a whole lot of changes, but you know, again, they're trying not to overhaul every job like they did pretty much in Shadowbringers and just build off of what they did in Shadowbringers. Summoner is the only job that completely got an entire facelift and reworked from the foundation up. But they did say Bard has more adjustments coming, so to be patient about that. Black Mages saw some pretty significant changes. Again, they're one of the ones that got stuck with still their Ley Lines ability is on a different cooldown than the 120 or 60 seconds. So there are still going to be some outliers there. How that will all work out, we'll see. Healers, we got to see a lot more of the Sage. Again, for those of you who don't know, There's now shield healers and pure healers. White mage is a pure healer, and sage is a shield healer. And it's so they have the two contrasting sides. I believe it's still Astrologian is the other pure healer, while Scholar is the shield healer. I don't remember 100%. I didn't write that down. I'm pretty sure. No, Astrologian, I think, is the shield. I don't remember. I never play a healer in any MMO, so I will openly admit I'm retarded when it comes to healers. I just need to get healed when I hit Living Dead, the worst tank cooldown in the game. But it's overset by the best tank cooldown in the game, the Blackest Night. But so this is what I really wanted to talk about: the battle system itself adjustments. So when you're matchmaking for Savage, I know in the US that's not a big thing because no one does that. No one queues randomly for Savage. That's kind of a Japanese server thing, but they are making changes so that, again, you always get one shield healer, one pure healer. And so that's right, the pure healers are White Mage and Astrologian. I did write it down. So White Mage, Astrologian, and pure. I was right the first time. Scholar, Sage, or Shield. And but the party finder itself updates. They're doing it so now, like, let's say you're a tank and you're trying to find a party. If a party already has 2 tanks and you're looking for a party to join, you won't see a party with tanks that are already full. So that's awesome. It really helps filter shit out that way, and you're not constantly going, okay, well, they already have they already have it. You're gonna be able to find groups much quicker. Luckily, this time I'm gonna be running with a static, hopefully, so I won't be having to deal with this for the 4th expansion in a row. There'll be new options for players who have yet to receive completion rewards. That's going to be added, and yeah, it's going to be much easier to form a group in those terms. They're also doing a change to rewards. So trials is weapon drops. So now drop a weapon coffer. In addition to the original weapon reward. So that's a nice change. I like that. The duty rewards, again, they're kind of adding more rewards and making getting gear a little easier at endgame. And then they went into some other cool stuff, which is the UI, the HUD adjustments. So they're doing a lot of new things where you can. Obviously, Final Fantasy XIV has had one of the greatest UIs in any MMO built in, especially, which is good because you can't use any add-ons to assist with that. But you are going to be a whole new bar for proc type buffs you can see, so it's not just up with all your other buffs. You can actually place it somewhere so you have an easier eye line of when something you're doing procs, which I think is long overdue. Targeting functionality, they say, has been improved, and you can see target of your friends when you're in groups with them. There's just some really good quality of life changes to the UI overall. But again, this is not news to most people. Belts are being removed from the game. There's no longer going to be a stat stick there, which I think is good. Again, don't forget about the downscaling of everything, that everything is going down, but so that means experience gain is going to be going down. But yeah, the whole undersized party thing really helping you out is going to be really, really well. The one other big change I didn't see coming is, and they're going to, the next live letter will have more details of Disciples of Land in Hand, but the materials you get for crafting will no longer come in high quality. To craft an item that's high quality is all depending on your crafting skill and how well you do that job, as opposed to the materials you're actually using. I don't craft a whole lot in the game. I did max out Blacksmith. I haven't maxed out anything else. I'm not a huge crafter, but I'm really interested for you players that are Disciples of Land in Hand, nerds, what you guys think of this change. Is it good? Is it bad? I definitely know it's going to affect the markets quite a bit, but I think ultimately it's going to affect the auction house in a positive way. There's not so much junk on there that never gets bought, because most people just straight up won't buy the low quality stuff when high quality is available. So it's going to be really interesting how they see. They didn't say much. There's a couple things I was hoping they would talk about, like, for example, tenacity. They kind of dodged around it a little bit. saying tank stats will be more useful, but it was a side note, and I didn't really see anything else about that there. But anyway, guys, I didn't want this video to be too long. It's just about 15-minute video. So what are your thoughts on the live letter? Again, in the description, there is the actual live letter itself that you can watch if you want to watch the whole thing all the way through. Also, the link to the job action trailer reveal, so you can watch all the job actions. And so please, guys, comments, thoughts down below. What's your hype level at for Endwalker? Mine has improved significantly since the first announcement of it, which I wasn't super impressed. It's gone up quite significantly. I'm excited to get into it and play it in a few months, especially now that my WoW guild's moved over with me back to Final Fantasy XIV. So what are your thoughts, everybody? Comments down below. If you liked the video, like it and share it. It really helps me a lot. If you didn't like it, that's fine. You can downvote it and tell me I'm an asshole, but don't forget to fuck yourself on the way out the door. As always, my friends, keep it real.